thank you, first of all, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Richard, for leading a round of introductions and stuff. Robert, I see Robert has joined us. Robert's one of our mainstays as well. Robert, good to see you again. Glad you're here. I'm sure he gave a thumbs up. So we thank you, Richard, for kicking us off.
Sorry, I was on mute there.
Oh, no, you're good.
I was like talking. Sorry about that. Yeah, good to see you.
Glad you're here. So there's a number of us. So Richard, Robert, Rick, Diane, myself, a number of people help contribute to this group and bring it forward. Our goal to just make sure that we have a call like this. We try to do once a month. Sometimes we miss one, and so we try and do once a month and just bring some kind of Dynamics 365 CE or for those old school folks, CRM content to you in some way, shape, or form. And so the idea just that we could all stand to learn something about something at all times. So the more we cover, the better. So that's our focus, and a couple of slides that we want to work through. So first and foremost, this is being recorded. It actually started auto recording right away. Diane usually trims off some of the recording and initial stuff, but just be aware that we are recording. That will then get posted to the Doug YouTube channel, which Madison will talk about here shortly. Diane also put together, and I'm hoping this plays. So she, in the age of AI, if you haven't heard of it, crawl out from under your rock. So AI is great for so many different things. And one of the things that she used it for is to put together this little video, and hopefully it plays. I'm going to play it. I shared sound, so you should be able to hear it too. And just a little summary recap of what our 2025 looked like. So here, fingers crossed that it plays. That was quaint. Yeah, apparently it's not bad. Nice. So that's kind of cute little overview. So Diane's going to join. She might even be here. I can't see the list, but she's going to be here, but a little bit later. So I would encourage you to drop her a quick note that we shared the video and we saw it as a cool little initiative that she took to pull that together. Kind of a good little summary of the year. So normally we open these calls with just a little introduction, kind of like what we already worked through, and just kind of a round table. Hey, where you at? Where you live, and things like that. And then usually the cursory weather check to see how things are going, as we did today. A little Doug intro that Madison will lead us through in a moment. And then we'll turn it over to our content today. Sebastian's going to lead us through the project operations, a modern project management solution presentation that he's done. So looking forward to that. And then toward the end, once he wraps, we can have Q&A and any just general debrief and discussions as a group before we wrap. Encourage you, while the session's going on, to engage in the chat, use it to pose questions, but also to just share tidbits of information from your own perspective, because that's what builds community. So encourage you to do that. Of course, some basic ground rules, or no, this isn't the ground rules, but just engage, as I just said, use the chat, share your LinkedIn profile. Please be part of the group and engage. Come back next time if you want. Again, we try and shoot for once a month where possible, usually avoiding the summer because our summers in Canada are this big, so we try to not meet in the summer. Basic housekeeping. When the presenter of the hour is presenting, please try and keep your line on mute if you can. If you have a question, use the raise hand feature. If you need to break in for some reason, please, I guess, do so, but try to just use the chat and things like that, just so that the presenter can stay on course and go. Of course, if you can't hear or something isn't coming through, let us know in the chat so that we can speak up and make sure we note that. Goes without saying, but be courteous. That's the name of the game again. Goes without saying. I think everybody's familiar with just making sure that we're having respectful interaction, which doesn't mean that we always agree, but it means that we can disagree with respect and challenge each other, and we're all here to learn and grow. And part of that is understanding other perspectives. So embrace those varying perspectives as they come up. And then there's a QR code to join the Meetup group to stay connected. You'll be notified as new meetings get booked and things like that. So I encourage you to scan that code in 3, 2, 1. Change. Upcoming meetings, we got February and March all booked up. So we got John and Josh. So if you have a J starting name, let us know and we'll get you into April. Just kidding. You can start your name with whatever you want. So we're going to focus on security. I can speak to that session very briefly. I saw John speak at Community Summit in the fall, I think it was, and he had a great overview of security as a whole and considerations and things from a data, not necessarily just a dataverse, but a data protection standpoint in general, but very much centered around Power Platform related considerations. So exceptional content there. I don't know Josh, and I'm not sure his Copilot session, but that's the next one. Robert, he's from Upside, so you must know him. Maybe you have an inside scoop.
He's a Copilot MVP, so we should be seeing some really cool stuff out of Copilot Studio. So for people that like to know that, and he will, I think, tie it in with Dataverse. So pretty relevant to this group. Yeah, should be a fun one.
Awesome. Awesome. And again, jokes aside, we are still looking for somebody for April. So if any of you have ideas, or you're like, oh, I'd love to present on this topic, or you have ideas of things you'd like to hear, but you maybe don't want to present, let us know. You're going to see a link here in a couple of slides with a form that you can fill in and give us some perspective. We'd love to hear from you. Again, if you want to present, great. We're happy to help you with that. Even if you're like, well, I've never presented before, I have no idea what to do, please reach out. If you're like, I kind of think I want to present, we would be happy to find somebody, myself or somebody else, who could come alongside. Maybe we do a joint venture, and it doesn't have to be a big, huge production, a 45 or an hour long. Maybe it's a half an hour overview on something you've learned. This is in my opinion, the best part of being part of the overarching community is we're here to learn from each other. We've all gone through different scenarios. We all have different perspectives, and we've all succeeded and failed, frankly, in different ways. And all of those things are all relevant, valuable to everybody. And so I highly encourage you to reach out. If you're not comfortable presenting, please don't let that be a blocker. There are people out there who would be happy to help support you and lift you up to get you in front of somebody, even if it's like half an hour presentation and all you got to do is 7 minutes of talking, just to break through that ice and get into the concept of presenting. We'd be happy to do that with you. So raise your hand if that's the case. May 12th to 16th at DynamicsCon in Vegas, which is exciting. I will let Madison speak to that here shortly. These are just a few of the other user groups that exist out there, so you can look them up. I know it's super small print. If you see something and you're like, I'd really like to use that, I'm not in presenter mode, so these aren't hot links, but let me know. I can go copy them out and get them over to you if you're interested in any of those. Quick Bing search will produce some good results too on various communities and forums that exist out there. And this is, I already invited you to scan the code or submit a form. So this form is what will come directly to us. We will then, reach out to you directly and just check in, see what you want to talk about. If you give us ideas, sometimes we'll follow up. If you're just saying, hey, I'd like to learn about this, but no follow-up needed, we'll take that into consideration and try and find a speaker to cover that topic. So click that link now. I'm going to give it, or scan the code now. 3, 2, 1. If you need it, let me know. I'll put it in the chat as we go. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Madison, to give us the overview.
Malcolm, do you mind if I share my screen? I think we have a little bit of updated slides, so I'm just going to present those. Sure. Thank you. All right, well, I will try and run through these very quickly. My name is Madison Han. I am our meeting and events manager here at Doug. And then we also have Kim on our call, and she is the new events coordinator at Doug. So you'll be seeing a lot more of her recently too. Just here to tell you a little bit about Doug. We are a free community for users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft business applications. We want to be able to give you the tools to excel and grow in your personal and professional career. We support the Microsoft Dynamics 365, GP, Power Platform, and AI community. Our rules of engagement, I think Malcolm pretty much covered these, but we just ask that everybody be respectful, stay engaged with your speaker. We also ask that these are held to be solely educational, so please no sales pitches or selling of your personal products or services. We want these to be solely educational and free for everybody to attend and take information away from. We have lots of different programs here at Doug. We have open online discussion forums where you can ask questions to the community about a specific product and they will help answer. We have free webinars. We have sponsorship programs called Team Up if you're interested in that. We have meetups like this one that we host virtually, in person, and hybrid. We have them all around the world. So whether you are located in Canada or not, we have some that meet up in person. I heard somebody was from Nashville. We have an in-person Nashville group as well. So if you're ever interested to see what other groups are out there and want to attend even more meetings, always encourage you to check that out. We have conferences and DynamicsCon, or I'm sorry, our DynamicsCon conference and regionals coming up, which I'll get into in just a minute here. And then like Malcolm had mentioned before, we have a YouTube channel where you can find all of our virtual meetups like this one. You can find the recordings of them there. So if you want to scan that QR code in the corner, that will get you more information about all of those topics. Next up is our DynamicsCon conference that will be happening May 12th through the 15th of 2026. This is our largest community conference of the year. It will be almost a full week of education and networking. I think we're going to have over 350 speakers, lots of different content, all focusing on Dynamics 365, Power Platform, AI, all the new fun and exciting things. And it is a solely community-led conference. So we have local community members all throughout the world that are a part of our selection and planning committee, and they read through all of the sessions that get submitted and decide based on what they hear from the community, which sessions will be accepted. So all community-led. It is a conference that we love to host and a really great way to get involved in the community if you're interested. We also have a 15% off discount code for all of our meetup members. So Kim will be sending a little chat in the chat box here with that code shortly. We have our 2026 DynamicsCon regionals posted, and these are a little bit smaller in scope than our large conferences, but bigger than our local meetups. So they usually range between 150 to 300 attendees. And these are in person, typically free. Sometimes we'll have a fee of like $25, but we try and keep them really affordable and in local areas around the world. Again, full day of content. We have different tracks broken up by different products. So lots of great education there. And then we'll have breakfast, lunch. We'll have a social hour at the end. So great networking as well. We just went to Tampa, Florida. We are going to Vancouver in March, Denver in April, Toronto in June, Africa in July. We're going to Columbus, Ohio in August, Montreal in September, Europe in October, and Texas in November. So I think we have 3 Canadian regionals this year, which is awesome. We're very excited. We are definitely expanding in Canada, and we should have some more set in stone dates for Montreal and Toronto shortly. They're at Microsoft offices, so we can't book them until like a certain amount of time ahead of time. So as soon as we have those dates, we will let you guys know. But really excited. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop a question in the chat. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Malcolm. Thanks, everybody.
Amazing. So that's exciting. It's nice to see the expansion in all these different places. It's community is everywhere, which is awesome. So with that, why don't we then take this as an opportunity to turn it over to you, Sebastian? So Sebastian and I have met a couple times. Diane reached out to him, I think, and coordinated today's session. I'm particularly interested because project operations is a myth, in my opinion. So I'm excited to be taught otherwise today. So,
A myth.
so run with it, Sebastian. Over to you to share and take us away.
Yes, thank you so much, Malcolm. I'm trying to present in Teams. Let's see if it let me do. If not, no, I just just a second.
No problem.
Which monitor picks it up?
What
That's always the question. There we
What time is
go.
it for you over in Germany right now? It'll be evening.
It's 8:30.
Oh, well, we
7:30.
appreciate you taking
Sorry,
time out of your
7:30. Oh, it's 7:30. That's fine. I just need to figure out to share the right presentation. I don't want to share a whole screen. Yeah, so I think initially this was planned for the meetup in Vancouver, but I kind of screwed up with some other appointments. So I'm not able to make it till the presentation is due on that Friday to come to Vancouver. So I think the solution was let's have it online and let's have it a bit earlier. So this is your chance right now. And yeah, as you already mentioned, we will talk today about project operations and how it works. So we just try to do a very basic introduction, and I want to start with like a little screen. I just need to figure out how. Yeah, there we go. Um, are we may not communicating enough? Because if we, for example, look at all of these different personas with different pain points all across our organization. We do have project managers. They're maybe disconnected to tools. They need to basically to handle everything what the sales predicts for the customer. We have resource managers, account managers, different form of management. Finance managers and team members. So a large group of people which do have different interests, different pain points, and as well different information they look at. So, for example, pricing, the project planning, or some kind of BI where they take the risks off, or they, for example, understand about their resource insights. And for example, our project managers and resource managers, they may look at all the same tools because they need to work together. And but when we cross this further across the whole organization, all of these different information, all of the different tools, where do I have my collaboration spot? Where is my ERP data? Where is my CRM data to get my key account management correctly? They're my isolated from this information which I have in the pricing or in the project planning. And therefore, to break off the silos, we try to bring every one of these people to a table. So everyone sits there on the table, everyone has their needs. And this is maybe why for a lot of people, project operations is a kind of blind spot or a myth, as you said, because preparations kind of brings all of this together, but also brings all of these different people and expectations together because we want to accelerate project delivery, but at the same time, we want to win more contracts, we want to collaborate, we have a time entry system, we want to optimize on our resources, and as well, we want to as well follow the needs of our management. And this is then basically where project operation comes in Christ with like collab or combining all of these different tools, all of this different information and data. And therefore, today we are going to look into project operations. How does it look like? So you already got a small overview. There is more to come. We talk about certain use cases and as well the benefits, and as well we do a live demo. This is hopefully timely wise, the biggest part of the thing. So we go through in the demo from a sales perspective into project management, into as well team member experience, how it looks like to track the times, what is available in the system, what is all out of the box, and how the process flow looks a little bit on a high level. And of course, if you do have questions at any time, may just put it into chat, and at the end we can then just go through and I can answer them in detail. And anyways, if you see me at any meetings or something, or at any events or for the community, then just stop me and ask anything what you would like to see. For my personally information, there's a QR code. I like that we just continue QR codes throughout all of these different presentations we saw already. So you can scan the QR code, and there you get all the information about my LinkedIn. You can reach out directly. I have a blog which I need to maintain a little bit more, but I have more content planned there, especially on project operations. So there is a lot of focus to explain how the feature works, what this is for, what are different features available, and so on. So this is really helpful resource. But yeah, just in general to reach out, use that QR code on your screen. To my person, as already shared earlier, I'm based in Germany. I work in this whole CRM CE space for roughly now 11 years, I think, 11, 12, 10 years, something like that. I work for a partner in Germany, Promex. We are as well having some subsidiary in Canada and the US, UK, India, Singapore. So we are kind of expanding, and I'm basically responsible there for everything that is related to technology. So everything new feature. Right now, of course, somehow is a lot of AI stuff, a lot of Copilot. But like, if there's a new feature on sales, if there's a new feature on project operations in particular, because this is where my niche knowledge is, it goes over my desk. So basically, everything that's new is on my table. All right, but more. This is enough of me, and you already need to listen to me. So I think this is fine. All right, so for project operations, for the setup, why we are here, why is project operations such a thing? And basically, project operations was born in 2020 out of an existing other product, which is project service automation. And project service automation at this time handled some business cases around project planning in the CE platform. And with project operations, we then as well get more capabilities because Microsoft in the meanwhile built Planner, but also have a very strong ERP side with finance. So project operations kind of combines all of that three components into one product. So it's not only available on the CE side, which we can see with our deployment types. So we do have a core solution. This is where we focusing today a little bit on, where we do have the CE part, or CRM part. I think this is depending on when you start your career. You can still call it CRM, right? And so on the CE part, we do have the core functionality. This includes the planner info, all the planner tools and features, but also all of the business process around project planning, resource stuffing, approvals, time recording, invoicing, and the sales integration. While then, for example, there is an integrated version which as well works via dual ride with the finance system of Microsoft, with the ERP side, where we then have more availability in terms of the contracting, but as well, for example, the expense management is pretty strong on the European finance side, and more invoice capabilities. Because we have it later on, the invoicing is basically on the CE side just some pro forma invoicing, so you're not sending out the final invoice to the customer. You kind of want to send this to an ERP system, and this is basically from day one the most build customization we have done, that we at some point send something to an ERP system. So it's just as well natural to have this integration with the ERP on the F&O side. It's just like that. That's in Europe especially, F&O is not very popular. So we have to build everything by our own. For the full ERP experience, there is still the manufacturing version of project operations, I would like to say, similar to the older PMA model, where we, for example, handle, for example, non-stocked and stocked materials. This is especially important there to know. But yeah, in general, we are combining all of very different tools into one. And in a nutshell, basically, how does this all sign up with Planner, where we do all of the, I didn't update the icon here. So with the Planner, we're basically handling teams. We are handling as well personal tasks, but team-based tasks all around to have a certain deadline or maybe some smaller dependencies to it. So it's more like I work with my R&D team and I organize their tasks a little bit on that level. Then there's Project Server or Project Online, where we do have a traditional project management with a lot of financial energy in the background. And then as well, there is project operations in this list, where we do have the integration to sales with opportunity, quotation and contract management, but as well the background with the ERP side, where we bring a lot of financial strength into the CE part. When we break this down into features, or how I call it here, values, is that we start, for example, or I basically start to break it down into 3 different categories: before the project, during the project, and after the project. Because apparently in project operations, a lot of things are bounded around the project. So when we see about like what is before the project, then we already have all the sales part, our project planning, just to make sure that we can do the project, and we just don't sell anything to the customer which we cannot fulfill at the end, or for example, not meet the deadlines, not having the right resources, not having the right skills in the company, and then as well to handle our contract situation, to as well have like a signed off contract, an agreed budget, an agreed timeline, and agreed what should I deliver to the customer. During the project, of course, all of these like planner tools come in handy, but also in connection with a time and expense tracking. So I do my planning constantly during the project, adjust my project plan, control my project, have my budget in place, have my time and expenses on the other side, what is actually happening in the system, what the people are working on, and as well to manage these resources and the projects. And then, of course, after the project, it comes to the building and the reporting, but we already mentioned earlier that this is the point where we usually make the connection, build the interaction to an ERP system, because this is more suited for a real invoicing process for customers. And the invoicing you usually create within project operations, as mentioned, is a pro forma invoice, and then these values are getting taken into the ERP. From a reporting perspective, we do have some AI functionality. I think even like in 2026, this is not going to go away. So there is still a Copilot around. There's still agents around. We don't get rid of them so quickly. And there is some capabilities I as well want to show you, like for example, how to create a report out of my project in like less than 3 clicks, and as well, for example, to get some support when I need to approve all of these different time and expense entries. Speaking about what I all can do, let's dive into our use cases. So let's start maybe if we get back the picture from the beginning with all the different roles. Let's start with the VP of Finance. So the VP of Finance usually wants to have input about the project financials, more in a strategic way, maybe with some trend analysis and so on. So the VP of Finance really wants to look into the financial reporting, if this all makes sense under the red line, basically, and if we are profitable. So this is the main output for the VP of Finance. And for that, of course, we need to have some inputs, which are, for example, delivered by the sales manager. The sales manager is strongly connected from the opportunity up to the contract in the very same or similar matter as with the sales module. So here purchase operations really docks onto the opportunity quote and the contract. The contract is the order, the sales order, and on the order, so that the sales manager can just build better quotes and higher with a higher detailed granularity, because all of these quotes and sales contracts, they're contracted or quoted based on the project plan, because the project manager later on creates not only a project plan when we have won the project, he creates it up front, and we see this in a demo how this connects and works together. From the PMO perspective, they basically monitor all of the contract situations, all of the KPIs. They're coordinating the invoicing. We can, for example, as well automate the invoice schedule, the invoice creation with schedules, especially useful for fixed price offerings where you have milestone invoicing across the year, maybe as well for long term. This is basically here with the PMO, while the project managers already mentioned, they are planning their project, they are managing their tasks, they're organizing everything that happens within their project space. They are going into the budget and retrieving those information in terms of comparing what have I planned and what is actually happened in the system, tracked by all of the different project team members. And similar for the resource manager, they get some insights all about the billable situation in the projects. They can see what resources are leveraged, which resources are on time, which are booked, who is maybe overdue with the hours. They can as well have insights about future projects. So what is planned in the future? What kind of skills do we need? For example, right now we need a lot of Copilot Studio skills, because there's maybe more customers coming to us to want to build agents. So we need to have a bigger team of that. So we can talk to HR to get the hiring process going. And all of that, the resource manager just gets more deeper insights with project operations. And the project team member on the other hand side, basically the main component here, the main guy, he is basically then, or they are basically tracking their time. They have insights in what they should do. They have not just a huge list of projects they need to follow. They can have insights on the assignments, which can be based on the or drilled down up to the hour of the day. So I can really plan my days as a team member and be aware of how much time I do have for the task, how much I have already, how much time I already have put in, and how much I still have left. But enough with the PowerPoint. Let's go and jump into the system to see how this looks like. For this, let me reshare my screen because we need to check into the system. And there we are. As mentioned, for the demo itself, I thought about a scenario where we start as a salesperson and see where are the connection points, because I thought that maybe, for example, the sales process as it is already there since, I don't know, 15 years, maybe longer. So we do see some similarities and as well as some differences very, very quickly. Yeah, so it just started for time perspectives, because as you already know, it's a bit later here in Germany. I already have created all of the data, so you can just click through, and we get rid of our slow system, which is maybe the case on a Thursday evening here. So right here, let's hide this. We are just in our Dynamics 365 model-driven map. We do have project operations right here. So right there, this is the case. So we do have a sales area where we do get all the information about sales, but then as well dedicated areas for projects and resources. There's also a whole setting area, and if you want to ask what is the difference when I want to set up project operations and sales, for example, for a customer, this setting area is basically the key point. With project operations, you need to be aware of like how everything works before you install the solution, because you need to set up a lot of things like pricing, organizational structure, and so on. So this is very crucial here, but this is just on the side. For the quote, I've created a small customer quote right here where we basically already have something in it, but let's do this step by step. Very similar to on the sales side, we do have a name of the customer quote. So here we want to transform a ski resort, and for that they're apparently using CRM, so Dynamics, and therefore we are offering our services. It's very yeah, very slim here in this case. We do have a not to exceed limit, and we do have a contracting unit, which is Contoso Global. So contracting units in project operations are used to determine like which department, for example, or which subsidiary is working onto the project. And this as well opens a lot of different options, for example, the pricing. So the pricing for Contoso Global in terms of the cost and sales could be highly different to, for example, Contoso US, Contoso Europe, or Contoso APAC, for example. And this is already something where we do have our sales and a cost price list, which is already some nice things. So I can basically see what I'm spending on and what I'm earning. So how to make this visible? We basically do have project lines, which is similar to product lines. First of all, product lines is the very same as for example, the quote on the sales side, where we in this case have a product with Microsoft Dynamics 365 licenses here. Just very default right there. Project lines on the other side, this comes with project operations, where we do have multiple lines connected to different types of costs and sales information. So here in our example, I have created two different project lines for the demo. We first of all have expenses and additional costs, which do have a billing type, a billing method as fixed price. So the invoicing is automatically milestone based. So everything here I'm invoicing on a period here over the running project. I have a fixed budget here. It's 10,500 US dollar, and we're just including everything from the expenses. It's not very hard to see. From the expenses over the material and as well the fee, everything is included here. And the one which is missing is the time. We have for this a separate implementation service line, which we then will open up right here. So on this quote line here, basically, we have a billing method. The one before was fixed price, right now time material. So everything what is happening in the project will come here and then will be invoiced later against this in the order. So for this one here, this is all empty. So this is basically how it's created. All I said is like a customer budget, so that I can see what the customer is expecting in this area. I can set up some things that, for example, certain roles are chargeable or not chargeable in certain scenarios. Roles are related to project resources or to resources in general. So if for employee is a developer or director or maker or project manager, this has different meaning in terms of the sales and cost rates, but also for billing type. So for example, our directors in this case, they're always non-chargeable. If I want to change this for the specific quote line here, I can change that, but I'm good because they are only doing some strategic stuff. So directors stay off non-chargeable. In terms of the information, I only want to include the time because expense, material, and fees I already have covered with my fixed price quote line. So good so far. This is everything we need to know. On the project right now, CRM implementation service, which I was happy to create already upfront. So let's jump into the project. And with that, we're as well changing the persona. We have just looked from a sales perspective side, and now we are handing over this project with some description, with the information, what we want to see, what we're expecting to the customer. We are handing over this to the project manager. And the project manager now has the option to plan out this project for the future. So we create a future planning of this project, and then, for example, as well, reserve some resources, maybe make some adjustments, do our estimation. What we sometimes just do maybe in Excel, or what we do just like by looking at the requirements and say, oh yeah, that's maybe like 10 days or something. And here we just do it inside the system, connected to our sales information. And the easy part is I click the Copilot button and basically get a task plan, right? So without spending too much time here on the main form, I will explain it in a moment. I'm just hitting the Copilot button and want to have a task plan. So what Microsoft has built here is that based on a name and a description, the agent or Copilot will generate some tasks for me just to start with. It's quite nice to just have like a backbone of my project plan and get this information in. So let's see. Of course, my session is outdated because I just tried it earlier. So let's go into our tasks. So these are all created with Copilot, and they're all AI related. So they just built there from scratch here, and I do just have a nice high-level overview task view, which is fine for me right now. And we are already here inside the component of Planner. So if you're using Planner, this may look familiar to you. So we do have a grid. We do have a board where I can organize everything in different buckets. So for example, I can say this is customer tasks. And there's another which is like developer high priority, like this. And I can just drag and drop my tasks into the right buckets. So for example, user training is with the customer. I can as well go into this task itself and make some changes to it if I'm not happy with that. Each project plan can be as well work with labels. So you have always this set of labels per project, and you can as well then just customize this per project as well. But this is not the main thing. But because we also have a timeline, so I can as well see how this all aligns together into our respective view. For right now, we are in a 3 months overview. So we do see how this aligns from a date perspective. And for example, all this cloud integration will happen only in March. And there's a dependency between those two. And so easy, I can just set up my project plan. I can plan through the items. I can plan through the different kind of expectations we do have, and as well the customer has. I as well have the opportunity later on, for example, to change the connection type, so that, for example, this is not a finish to start, but for example, a start to start relationship, and more and more. Charts and people and as well goals is something that's sometimes not used that often. For charts, it's kind of basic overview, I would say. And people right now is only getting interesting once I assign some resources, same as assignments we will have this in a moment. But I want to put a spotlight onto goals, and I want to have some milestones basically within my project. And here we want to have like a customer review, and I can connect this to tasks. And then, for example, this is after defined functional requirements and current system assessment. So I want to get this done. So this is my goal. I want to have a custom review by, let's say, 1st of March. This is a Sunday. So let's take the 2nd of March. Also good for me. So I can set up these goals. I can set up these milestones, not in terms of like a billing milestone or something in terms of that happens on the sales side, but I set this up in terms of a process side, in terms of my project plan needs to reach these goals and so on. So this is very helpful here for the project manager to specify different phases across their project execution, and then as well get his goals tracked correctly. Let's jump back to the grid. This is what I just created with the AI. It also points me out to this, that all of these, for example, stakeholder meetings here, they're all suggested by AI. So it basically frames me as being lazy, but this is fine for me right now. As you already can see, I can just open the details here. I also have a context menu for every task here, where I can open the details. I can promote this to a subtask, where I can as well change the hierarchy. I can as well cut and copy or insert above, and as well connect this to my goal, which I just set up. And as well, I can just complete it from here, or just click here on these little icon and complete it from there. For all of these tasks, I get a start and a finish, and as well, then once I assign people, I do get an effort. I can as well add more columns. So, for example, priority column, that they're all pre-given by the system. And what is new since a few weeks is that I can as well select custom information from here. So, for example, I do have a sign-off date and as well, for example, a task budget KPI. So let's bring in these two. So these are my go-to custom fields here, because just because I do have a start and end date does not mean my sign off date is the same. And you just want to drag and drop this in the right way. Well, looks okay-ish to me. And of course, you can as well hide the things which you don't want to see. And you can see you can use just, for example, option sets right here. So I can just directly make changes to my custom fields, which is very handy. And I can trigger any kind of custom process based on that if something changes. For example, my project gets off target, I will get all of the, for example, notifications, or I can set up a process at the backend, which is more complex. But for right now, yeah, I as well want to set a sign-off date. So the sign-off date is here, end of February. So this as well works very naturally, even though this is a custom field and it has the same kind of experience, as I just want to change the start or end dates with that, right? So I can just go ahead and set these dates individually, and this is directly saved back to the Dataverse environment, which is quite nice. But for right now, because we're still in the project planning phase, I just want to make sure that my project so far looks decent. It's okay, I guess. We do have some analysis requirements, and planning, system design development, module development, ticket and system module, rental management. It looks all right. Let's say it looks all right. And I have multiple ways right now to get people involved. And one way of them is then, for example, just to click here into the assign to little button, and I can search for people within my system. So for example, I have myself, because I'm the project manager, I have created this thing, say I'm the project manager. I want to make sure I'm in the stakeholder meetings. That makes sense to me. On the other hand side, the current system, I have Simon to look into this, and he's getting supported by Logan in this way. So I can as well assign multiple people to that, and make my decisions based on that. I also have the way or a way to assign external resources. So I do have a full fledged subcontractor handling. Yeah, that was close. I have a full-fledged subcontractor handling where I do have set up a vendor for Dexter here in this case. And he's, for example, now an external, and we do have a contract with this vendor in place that I get, for example, the costs which I have for Dexter are applied to this one. And so I continue. I'm just planning my resources just accordingly to the team. If there is, for example, not the fitting resource, I can as well add a generic resource to the planning, especially in the scenario right here where I go ahead with the planning. This is a very common scenario that in this case I do have a maker, so the role maker. I could as well have a developer and so on. It's much more easier for the project manager in the first place to define someone who's like, okay, I need one from the development team. I need one with maybe C# experience. I need one with who's like a consultant or a technical guy. I need just someone who looks into this and that. So this is much more easier to define. And the nice thing, because this is hooked up to the resource roles, and the roles are again hooked up to the pricing. I get the right pricing with that. What I don't get, for example, with this scenario is if we do have a subcontractor. So this is done under the resource manager's perspective, a task to align with that and to align with the budget. But for right now, we are good with our maker. We may assign him here and there, and as well go ahead and assign more people to our projects. And with that, our effort rises and gets bigger. And so we are good, I think, for most of this user training, assigning this to people. I think you get the point. This whole assigning thing basically now builds the team itself, where I can as well have some look into that. For example, then Byte is working on the system testing, while, for example, Susan is on the architecture design, and Martin works for architecture design and real-time data model. Real-time data module, as well with the start and finish hours, and as well with the total efforts of hours. So all this information are always available to me. Two little differences. I do have the information of the contractor with Dexter, so he is from a different type here. And as well for a generic resource, I just maybe have a placeholder here. So there is not one single person yet assigned. If we look into the estimation, so this is called time-phased estimates, and I want to refresh this because I think this is from earlier. So I want to have basically all of the resources I just assigned list up here with all of the details in terms of the task, start and end date, how much hours, which unit group and unit, in this case hours and time, and what is the cost of them. So I can see that, for example, here I do have a high cost of the maker here, for example, as well as Sebastian costs a lot of money, of course, and there's still some unassigned stuff here, which is not getting into the context of the overall cost experience. So I do get all this information, and the nice thing is I also get information like when this cost appears in my project plan. So do I have more costs, for example, in the beginning or at the end? And here we definitely have a high cost into the beginning. I don't know if this is very visible to you. So these are these the sums of all of these values. So let's structure it like this. So in the beginning of the project, I have high costs, and it goes less and less over the time of the project. And I can compare this, for example, right now to my sales overview. And the sales overview kind of looks the same, which I'm happy. I sometimes build demos where like the sales is lower than the costs because I have some strange setups in the pricing. But this time I think this looks decent, and I'm good with that. So I can switch around between my cost and sales and see where the difference is, and get as well like what are the prices for each resource. I can, for example, just as well just put this per category and have a category part of the planning. But this is kind of enough for me, right? For my planning, and I can give this back right now to my salesperson. So on the other hand side, switching back to the salesperson and watching a little bit on the watch, on the clock, the salesperson here is waiting for our planning with all of different resources and so on. And what the salesperson basically does, she wants to get all of the details into the quote line to make this quotation finally happen, right? And therefore, with the quote line details, we can just import our project estimation, and you can kind of summarize it by role and so on. But I want to have the full details. I want to be very transparent to our customer. So I'm just importing just everything what I just have planned. And what is happening? It takes our CM implementation services project with all of the tasks we have created into account with all of the resources and their effort numbers, and bring this into my quote line details. And as we can see, this we can see all of the roles, the project manager. We have one which is not assigned, which is correct, and we have a lot of team members in place. We do see the quantity, we do see the pricing. We do see as well which task this is coming from. Right, and as well the total amounts. And this basically helps us to build this total amount here of 63,000. So we are a bit above like what the customer budget is. So we can still apply like a discount maybe on that to just get around this. Yeah, I think this should be fine. I think we're good with that. And we basically plan not only like, do we have the resources for that? We also will plan the real costs for the whole thing. And we really can tell right now if this quote is profitable or not. So let's go back to the quote and check on that. And we are over customer budget. So you can see this because of the brackets directly directly changes it. Let's recalculate that just for a second because the total cost seems a bit low. And yeah, so total cost is close to 52,000, while my revenue is 65, and I have a gross margin of 21.25%. If this is fine, I can send this out. I can activate the quote very easily, the same way how I send out the sales quote, send this out to the customer, create a order around this, and then start the project over. And I basically go into the project, start the execution. And if I then want to find a resource, for example, for this maker, I have very different options with that. I can, for example, use something which is new as a guest resource that can help me to find someone from my existing system based on the experience, based on data in my system, and it can, for example, give me a score with that. And for example, we can see that Byte and Martin are available for that, both with a different score. And I can, for example, go into details and see like, why is this the case? For example, in this case, Byte is 100% available and has some like similar task done before. While Martin, for example, he's perhaps, yeah, it's like his task score. So the task he has worked with in the past in the system is not really matching to what we're researching here in these tasks. So this feature definitely benefits from a strong history and a good kind of documentation of what tasks are in the projects. So this really helps you with that. On the other hand side, with creating a resource requirement, I can more specify what kind of maker I need. Do I need someone who is maybe junior or more experienced, or do I may need someone, so this is where the resource requirement happens, so this is one here, it's here in the back, and when I open that, you will see what I want to tell you. This is more about like, okay, who's that guy I'm searching for, and this is could be breakdown by or broken down by skills. So I can add certain skills. Where, for example, he's very proficient with Power Automate. Let's see if I do have some skills in the system. So this is very, very straightforward. So yes, I do have Copilot Studio. Perfect example. He should be uh, excellent with that one. So, and with that, I can just add my filtering to that. And I can as well set resources which I'm preferencing, because maybe, okay, I work a lot with Martin, so I want to have Martin. On the other hand side, I usually have the way to maybe set resources I don't want to work with, and then go ahead and either like book this by myself. And no, you don't see this because this is a new tab and I'm not sharing the whole screen. Just a second. I will create this as a tab. So you either do this by yourself or you go ahead and you have a centralized scheduling with the schedule board in place. So the schedule board is then as well fully embedded into this. I just don't see anyone who is fitting. Let's maybe get rid of the characteristics because I think there are two. Yeah, and then again, I can see Byte and Martin, which are both available during the time, and I can just directly book them from here, from the scheduling board, and get them into my project. All right, time-wise, I would say let's jump into a project that is a bit more advanced. So here we already have nearly done half of the work, and here as well my sessions. Yeah, so let's jump into this one. And here you can, for example, see as well how you can use these custom columns, how it looks like when we finish a task here. So here, for example, I do have a trend where it goes either up or down this way. And I can as well make changes to it based on my gut feeling, for example, as a project manager. But as well, what I can see is, for example, I can have access to a baseline. So, damn it, my plan is behind schedule by 120 days. That's a lot. I really need to look into this. So, look into my baseline details. So initially my baseline was to finish on 4th of September, I think, if I read. Yeah, that's the right format. I always get confused. And so right now we're 120 days behind. Wait, there was holidays and vacation, so we are good. And as well, I can just filter directly what is the critical path, what is behind, what is causing this huge delay. And I can see that this is the project scope. This is still not defined, so I definitely need to talk a word here to the persons. I do see as well like what was my initial dates, what is the finished variance, and so on. I can as well filter for like which tasks are overdue to, yeah, I thought about this, that he is involved here, but I can basically filter that very quickly out and find out who's responsible for which task, and as well can see which tasks are, for example, due this week. So a lot of different features coming across all of these different process states. With that, I also, for example, have enabled the budget here. So on the budget, I can within the project, define a budget based on a task and see how we are performing against these budget indicators. So here, for example, I have done this for each of the tasks, so I can see that for some we identify key holders, there is some contingency as well with each budget, and I'm the consumption percentage here is 130%. So I'm really overcompensating these tasks, while the others may not even have started because of my excellent demo data. So with the budget as well, it makes totally sure to track all of the different information and all of the outcome of the current system. And how do we, for example, then track those information? Let's do one thing first before we track any kind of information. Let's finish on the Copilot part for the project right here. So the Copilot drop down here as well gets extended with risk assessment. So this generates risks. We can quickly jump into this. I didn't have risks before. Perhaps it will let me know that I'm behind the timeline, which is fair, I would say. But actually, it kind of creates me some risks of the cost overrun, insufficient data quality. Yeah, it sounds very crucial, and it brings me basically some risks into my database with as well a very word county description, I would say. I can use this again as a backbone, for example, just to start with, just to not start from the blank paper. What I really like of these three features here of task plan, risk assessment, and status report is the status report. We have two different ones, the internal and external. The internal is kind of giving us more information, so I'm going to fire up this one, while the external is only focusing on the task completion. The internal also looks into the financial side. And you can trust me, I've never would write so much text for a status report. And with just 2 clicks, no, it's 3 clicks. I'm sorry, 3 clicks. I could create this report, and I do have the status report on a basically daily basis if I would like to have. I can have this weekly, I can have this monthly, but this is just like the whole text, how my project is doing from a financial perspective, and how my estimates are structured based on, for example, the type. So I have time, material, and expense. I have some estimates in material and expense, but the most is happening in the time space. And from like $78,000, we only have actuals of 1.5. So we really need to push this here in terms of getting done with some stuff here. But we already have completed 7 out of 19 tasks. On the other hand side, we have not assigned tasks. We have not started tasks. We even have tasks which are still assigned to a generic resource. So this is really behind. And then as well, we get our full text of this. And the nice thing is I can still go in here but everything is fine. I still make my changes, save this, download the report, print it, or send it back. So this is very nice and cool feature to use. And before we are ending this, I just want to show you how the experience looks like from the team member perspective, where we do have a calendar in place. So this is basically built-in application by Project Operations, which allows me to see the different time entries across this week right now. And I do have my calendar. I do have my already created ones with a little like mouse over, which gives me more details. And I can just basically select a space right there, select my project here. So for example, my project operations project here, and I'm going to document some stuff, work for 2 hours, and I'm good with creating that one. And this is how easy I can track my time, submit it from here, and it'll be ready for approval. So from a team member's perspective, this is the main connection point to the product. And as well, for a team member, again, most important time is like how many hours I have already logged out of 40 hours to finish my week already. So I can filter, I can go ahead, and I have this little overview right here where I've worked. So only tomorrow, some more hours to clock in before the weekend. Sounds about nice. When I submit one of my time entries for the management approval, the management actually gets some little help out of that, which is the approvals agent. This is super, super helpful because I can just set up some policies written in natural language, so I don't need to know about how the system works or how the system communicates and stuffs itself. I just can say, yeah, if there is more allocated effort or no more allocated effort, sorry, for this assignment, then flag this time entry. And this then always runs automatically and searches for new approvals if all of the policies are met or not. And then basically flags them red or green. Green for like they're all fine, and red for there is an issue. So in most of the cases, it has to do with some budgeting here and there. And we can, for example, as well set it up in a way that this ready for approval gets approved automatically. So the agent just does the job here for the approval a little bit, and the human in the loop, as Microsoft likes to tell it, is then only looking at like the needs to review, the red flag ones, to see then, for example, how this looks like. And for example, here, what is our policy? Time entry was submitted outside the team member's assignment period and falls outside the start and end dates. So basically, the project or the task for this resource already has ended, but the person still booked on that. So there's a reason behind it. So I need to go back to the resource and ask, why did you book on this old project? Was there some work to do? Was there a request by the customer? They can specify it, they can go ahead and then basically make the adjustments or approve or cancel or reject this whole approval. All right. Yeah, after approving, we go into the invoicing, which I can basically tease for seconds. If you're looking at the time, I think a bit over the time right now. I hope this is okay. I hope you don't mind. Basically, in the billing hub, it shows me all of my active contracts, and then as well, I can loop down into my contracts and the contract lines, and then as well go ahead and go with our invoices and what is new, what is a really nice feature on the invoice. And this is why I'm keep saying that this is a performer invoice. This is nothing final I send to the customer. We do have this pending transactions because once you create this invoice, it just tracks everything from products, milestones, services into one invoice. And then sometimes someone just forgets to approve like a time entry on the last day, or someone is just late with the time entries. And then I do have this pending transactions, which opens up a new window for me where I can see then what is missing for this invoice or what is still open. And I think I do have some product licenses right there, which are not being added to the invoice. So I can make this change right here, still add this to the invoice, don't need to run a full invoicing cycle again, and be fine with my invoicing and send this then to the ERP. All right. So far, so good. Where is my presentation? There we go. I have like one slide for just a summary. So let's go ahead and basically, yeah, for the summary, we are simplifying our projects. We are getting ahead and creating these customized, drilled down quotes for the customers. We do have not only a project planning tool, but also a project cost management tool, how I like to call it. And as well, it's great with the resource scheduling capabilities and there's a good entrance into the platform. I've put there some links into the deck. I will share the deck with I think everyone afterwards. I'll just throw it into the chat. And then you can as well have the links right there. So then it's easier to share. And therefore, thank you for having me. I think I'm a bit over the time. I'm very sorry for that, Dennis. But
We got a couple of minutes for some questions, so we're doing good.
All right. Yeah, still do have. All right. Thank you.
There
then
were a few questions in the chat. I'm not sure
yeah.
if we answered them all.
Let me make it easier and read them to you then, Sebastian. So one of the questions was, obviously there's a tremendous amount of effort that needs to go into in creating a project, right? So is there an easier way to create like project templates or to copy or clone an existing project?
Yes, there is. There's a full copy project functionality that I can just create a copy of an existing project, overtake the resources, don't overtake the resources, overtake them with their roles. There's also a brand new functionality which is currently in preview, which allows you not to import the whole project structure. Let's say you have like your blueprint of the perfect project.
Yeah.
And you want to not only always copy the full stack of a 3 years long blueprint of a project, you just have a 6 weeks project. But you need like this testing block. You can just select a certain amount of task, a certain like parent task with the subtask, and just import this from not only one project, but like from multiple projects into your current project. So all of this like copying, importing, really got some love in the last updates, and is as well available for customization. So even though if you want to copy your project with some custom values or some custom fields on it, you're now good to do that. So this is
is that in
very new.
in an Excel format, like a CSV or XLS format that you import it, or is it a PPT?
Basically, it is happening from the existing system data, but you can, for example, use as well an Excel import, or what is also supported is an MPP
Okay.
import. So you can have your Microsoft project record, export this into an MPP file, import this into project operations, and then go ahead with this one. So this also works fine.
That's great. And another question was,
Yes.
from a time entry perspective, obviously we saw some high-level time entry elements.
Yeah.
I'm assuming most organizations, enterprise, would be using, a proper time entry system that they would integrate in the back end to the project ops. However, is there anything out the box that's available for an expense entry perspective? Whether teams like booking flights and accommodation, all that sort of good stuff, is there an expense entry and approval mechanism?
Yes, so very likely to the time entries. There's also expenses. On the CE side, I have to highlight that the expenses are not that strong. So it's basically just a quick create, and you throw I had a flight. This was the amount. This is the category. I throw this into the system. It runs through the same approval process as the time entries, and it also can be handled by the approval agent I just showed. So it appears in the same list if the approval likes to, or it has a separate list depending on the process. For a more or for a better expense experience, this is happening on the finance side. So on the ERP side, there is then more capabilities to that. There is also a mobile application to track the expenses. There is also an agent just to track the expenses, where you can send a receipt to per email, and this will be tracked by the system and create the expense report for you.
Wonderful. Well, Malcolm is a full believer now, so congratulations. He'll be happy. Is there anything, just final question from me, and maybe there's some additional questions out there, Robert. I'm not exactly sure if you see any other questions there. But final question from me is, when you are implementing project operations for customers, where are the tricky elements that you should be prepared to navigate around? So what customer requirements are coming out that you're seeing that particularly challenging to address with project ops?
Yeah, that's a very good question indeed, because it's not like you are setting up field service or marketing. It's not called marketing, it's customer insights journey, but it's not like the usual Dynamics module. And I think this is why it's a myth from time to time to people, because you need to be aware of like the full business process from like sales to the invoice, which can be an extent in some companies. And especially I've done many implementations with like global customers as well. So they do a different process in North America than they do in Asia or in Europe or somewhere else. And there is maybe only a hub in Brazil where you just have like 10 people working, and there's a complete different setup of how they do projects, but they still need to use the same system at some point. And to be aware like of how everything works before you actually go into the system and create the first record, I think this is the biggest challenge, to understand this and to understand constraints and dependencies on the data model, because there is some limitations on, for example, the project task. You cannot just go ahead and throw a plugin on it to handle some automated creation or to handle some validation. You need to go through and scheduling API, because it's this planner integration thing. So it's using the same API as the project for the web, or formerly project for the web, now planner, is using. Therefore, we are basically going to the API and then going back to the database, and we're not able to just register a plugin or run a plugin on that. So there are like these little constraints. On the other hand side, what I really like, and what is basically my favorite feature, is like how the pricing works, because I can set up price lists for sales and cost and purchase for the vendors, for subcontractors, and on this pricing, I can introduce custom pricing dimensions. So if there is any kind of how I structure my pricing for customers, for internals, how I set up the costs, if I don't know, handle my my cost structure based on the village or town this person is working from, I can set this up with pricing dimensions. This is very powerful, and it just works. It's a little bit painful to go through this the first time, but once you get it, it's a dream feature to work with, and it's really nice. And you can as well set some different priorities with that like in certain cases it reacts correctly. So this is really cool. But yeah, in general, I would like to say that it's just a bit different from your sales model or from the field service model in terms of the setup. And once you screwed up the setup, it's very hard to go back to redo it again or to fix this. This is usually a big pain.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, thank you for the feedback. Really appreciate that.
Thanks very much.
All right.
I have one more question for you, Sebastian, if I may,
Yeah.
and that is, do you know if there's any Microsoft certifications that cover project operations?
Yeah. Also fantastic idea. Fantastic question. We have this topic with Microsoft since, I don't know, 4 years or something, and they're basically telling us, yes, next year. So far, there is no certification which is available, unfortunately. There are some good learning paths which I shared in the deck. So I will share the whole deck with you that you have access to them. So they're good. Meanwhile, I'm not sure why they're not releasing the certificate. I think this is just something that's I don't know, laying around and not picked up by the Copilot somehow.
Okay. I don't see if there's any other questions in the chat, but I took a look.
I just put a link in the
through
chat to the Microsoft Learn materials just to get started. Should anyone want a quick start guide on project operations, it's all there.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sebastian.
you attending today. Have a wonderful week and good luck with all of the snowstorms out there. I hope everyone's safe.
All right. Yeah, hope so too.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.